Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast with Blaha. And today I'm having fat-free Greek yogurt, almond butter, and walnuts. That's its own topic. I actually had to ban someone the other day for making a big deal and getting insulting and saying that my breakfast was going to give me diabetes. And unsweetened, plain yogurt, right? Go look at research on that, and nuts. People are insane. All right, let's go over and talk a little bit about speed strength. All right, and this is something I get from people. They'll say, Jason, why does an athlete, you'd say that athletes benefit from the conjugate system. And I coach athletes. Boxers, got a baseball player, tennis player, some MMA guys. Right? Those are athletes. I think most of us agree those are athletes, right? If they compete in those sports, they're athletes. So we come over to the conjugate and why absolute strength matters. And at first this sounds silly until you look at it and you understand basic physics and biomechanics. When I say that if you raise your absolute strength is what? Your 1 rep max. It makes you faster. Okay? It has the potential to make you faster. We'll do a little math here in a minute, but it comes down to what sort of weights you can handle with your speed work and how fast you can move a heavy weight, because that's what speed strength is. And when you think about swinging a baseball bat, a punch, a kick, hitting someone on a football field or rugby field, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with speed strength. Right, those things need to be explosive. Same thing with even a sprint. It's explosive. Most people out there understand the concept of relative strength. When we say something is heavy, we mean it's heavy for you. And when we start talking about the ability to produce force, what is it that we notice? Like if we do speed work, which again, we explode. We have a certain velocities we're trying to hit, right? We're trying to move a moderate weight very, very fast. And we know that training these explosive movements, and I don't care if it's speed work like I'm discussing, speed bench, speed pulls, speed box squats, or whether it's a power clean, okay? Speed movements, your relative strength matters. For example, you go to do a clean. In order to do a power clean off the floor and catch it, it has to move fast. There is no way to do a slow power clean. So if your max deadlift is only 400, woman, that's great. If you're a man, it's not so great. Right, your max deadlift is 400. You go to power clean. You're going to be able to power clean 300? 75% of your max deadlift. How fast can you move that? I bet you it's going to be difficult. Even if you're proficient at the clean. Right, let's say you're really proficient at the clean, you're good at it. With the technique down. Pulling off the floor, exploding up into the air and dropping under it, 75% of your max deadlift being pulled off the floor with that type of speed? Probably not. Depends if we go up. If you go up to try to do 350, yeah, it's not going to happen. Take the same lifter and you get them to a 550 deadlift. What are their odds of being able to move 300 off the floor faster? And we're getting down here towards less than 60% of their max deadlift. Now we're getting into the territory of weights we can move explosively. People will see again Dmitry Koklov. They see how much weight that man could clean, right? Like, well, it's crazy. But how much did he deadlift? He was an 800-pound deadlifter, or at least well into the sevens. Might not have been 800, but I know he was way up into the sevens at least. Okay. Weights that are about 60%, we can move fast, 60% of our max. So let's carry that over to a field athlete. Let's use the bench press because we do speed bench. And anyone who wants to argue, well, it's a different joint angle, you don't understand transfer. Right? You don't understand joint angle specificity and transference if people want to argue, well, the bench press doesn't carry over to someone who pushes at a slight upper, no, or a punch. You're going to fail your exercise science tests. Okay. Bench press. How much force, upper body pushing force, and again, that applies to pushing someone on the field, it applies to a punch, because a bench press does use the whole upper body. It's a reason we use it as a test of strength. It allows you to really test most of the muscles of your upper body and your ability to engage your lower body tightly while doing it. People forget that. Clowns who climb on the bench don't seem to understand it's a full body exercise, probably because they've never benched heavy. They don't know how to bench. But let's say your max bench is 225. All right. We can do speed work with maybe 60% of that. Okay, so explosive, 60% with your dynamic effort. So an athlete who only benches 225 is not going to have a lot of speed strength in his upper body. Why? Because he's forced to use, let's say, 60% of that. He's coming back down to about 125, 130 pounds on the bar is the most that he can move explosively for speed strength. Okay? Well, that transfers into force production. This is what we're looking at. Rate of force production. What happens if we take that lifter, that athlete, that field athlete, okay, he's a boxer, football player, whatever, who needs upper body push ability, force production. What happens if we take his max bench to 350? People say, well, that's just for the slow heavyweight. No, because then what does his speed work look like? What's the speed work look like for an athlete like that? Take 60% of that 350. All right. We're over 200 pounds now for speed work. If his max was only 225 before, that's a slow. He can't even move that fast. That's a grindy, like 3-second concentric. But if we take that max up to 350, he can now do his explosive speed work, which is just instant. Right? Less than 1 second concentric reps, fractions of a second. So what's 60% of that? It's about 210, 215. Right? Pretty close. 220. It's pretty much what his max used to be. How much more force can that athlete produce now? With his speed, right? What does his speed strength look like? It's increased proportionately to his absolute strength. So hopefully people get this. This is why absolute strength and raising your absolute strength ceiling impacts speed strength and explosiveness. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.